Hi everyone, and welcome to Paper Pumpkin Week here on Creative Chelsey. Thanks for joining me today as I share some beautiful card ideas you can make with the June 2025 Paper Pumpkin Kit called Full of Charm. Here's a quick peek at the original cards from the kit. If you'd like to watch me unbox the kit and create these cards, or see any of my other alternatives, you can click on the playlist in the top right corner. This is the second alternative card idea I'm going to be sharing with you this week. I love the touch of gold in the background from the original card base, and then the blue and green leaves. And these leaves we removed from our first alternative project. So if you haven't seen that yet, check out that playlist and click on the first video, and it will take you to a really great card where we removed these from the die cut. So if you're like, where did she find those leaves? That's where you can get them. Also, if you need a refresher on heat embossing, then keep watching. I have some great tips for you. If you're new to my channel and would like to continue to see all of my paper pumpkin alternatives, make sure to subscribe using the link in the bottom right corner. I would love to be your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. If you're interested in getting your own paper pumpkin subscription, please use the link in the description below to subscribe. So we have half of a card base left. We're going to go ahead and trim it down to 4 inches by 5 1/4. We used the first half of this card base for our first alternative. So again, check that out if you haven't seen it yet. So this is 4 inches by 5 1/4, and we're going to go ahead and just roughen up the edges a little bit. I'm using my bone folder, but you could use your fingernail. You could also use paper snips, depending on how much you like to have that edge get roughened up. So it's just going to distress it a little. That's what the look you're trying to go for. Okay, before we add that to our card base, we're going to do some stamping and then add our cut pieces. So let's just go ahead and look at each piece and make sure that they're all nicely rounded. So for example, this leaf here has a little indent that's been removed. And so we're just going to take our paper snips and smooth that out just a little bit so it makes it look more like an individual leaf rather than something that we removed from something else. And then we're going to do the same with these flowers. I'm just going to smooth out some of the corners just to try to create a little softer look. So I'm just going to go through and make sure that we've got pretty good looking images. So that one's good. Same with that one. This one we need to trim off a little extra along the flower. And this one, just kind of smooth that out. And from this, oh, is that the bottom? No, that's the top. We're just going to smooth that out. It looks a little strange. There. Okay. So that didn't take very long. Next, we're going to do our stamping. We're going to use the branch with the leaves in Mossy Meadow ink. And you're first going to decide where you want your greeting. And I want mine in the center, but then off to the right just a little. So find the middle and then off to the right. And we're going to stamp the leaf image twice. And you're going to put your branch, the bottom of the branch, where you want your greeting. So maybe something like that. And then another one, maybe like that. And then this area here is where we're going to cover it up. I love stamping over the gold embossing because it kind of gives a little peek through the stamped image. So next we're going to do some twine, and I've got, this is the crumb cake baker's twine, and I'm not really going to measure it out. I'm just going to do a little faux bow right in the center here, and I'm going to take some tear and tape to create that faux bow. So maybe about an inch or so of tear and tape. Just put it right where those branches meet. And then just start with maybe about 2 inches on one side and then do a loop. If it's not working, just kind of take it through your fingernail and it will kind of help smooth out the shape of the baker's twine a little bit so that you can manipulate it a little bit better. And I wanted a double bow, so we're going to go ahead and do another one. You can keep them the same size or you can make one a little bigger than the other. Let's see. Make that one a little smaller. I think those ones look good. And then you just hold it off to the side and trim it to the length that you want. And then we are going to put our greeting on here with dimensionals. So you can go ahead and take a dimensional now and just stick it right in the middle just to hold everything in place so it doesn't move on you while we're doing the next step. So something like that. Okay, so our next thing is we're going to do our stamping. And I've got a piece of Pretty Peacock cardstock. And we're going to emboss this with white embossing powder. I'm going to take my embossing buddy, and I very highly recommend using an embossing buddy every time that you use embossing powder. Then I'm going to take Versamark ink and ink up my greeting and stamp that on my cardstock. Then take some tweezers. Now I'm using tweezers because my paper is so small. I don't want to have my fingers all around. You can always work with a larger piece as well if you want. Cover it up, tap off the excess, and when you use the right amount of embossing buddy, you shouldn't have any powder left over. It should only stick to the area that you stamped. Then you're going to take your heat emboss tool, and if you want to warm it up beforehand, you can. And I always recommend heating it up from underneath. I think this gives a smoother finish to the top. And this is again another great reason to have your tweezers instead of using your fingers, which could get burned really easily with the heat of that heat tool. Okay, so it's going to look something like this. And then once it cools off, you can take a microfiber cloth or something to pick up the excess embossing buddy so that you can get back to that cardstock color. And this is just a dry rag. If you wanted to, you could get it a little damp, which will also help pick up the excess. And it's going to look something like this. So we're going to go ahead and distress that as well. And I'm going to take one of the corners from the bottom, since we have lots of space there, and just roll it up just to get that distressed look. And I'm going to add it to my card, nice and straight, right over that baker's twine. If you need to have any extra to tack it down, you can, but do that after you add your other parts. So I'm going to add these leaves now. I'm going to add them with dimensionals under the leaves. This one that's just a single flower, it's not going to get a dimensional. And I'm also going to use my mini dimensionals. They're the perfect size for this. You don't need to add one to every single leaf. You just want to make sure that it's supported well. So once you have those dimensionals on, you can start tucking these around the greeting and in the top left and bottom right corners. So this one has 4 leaves and 1 flower, and I am going to tuck it at the bottom left area of my greeting. And this one has 2 leaves and 2 flowers, and it's going to go up in the top left area. And the straight edge of the flower and the straight edge of the leaf, they're going to be along the straight edge of my cardstock. And then any areas that are overhanging, I can trim right off. Then this large one, it has, I think, 5 leaves and 1 flower. It also has some straight edges, and so it's perfect to put down in the bottom right corner. Again, just kind of make those straight edges match the edge of your cardstock. This one I'm not going to trim off, but if you wanted to, you can. And then we have 1 left over. That's a 1 leaf, 1 flower. And that's going to go up in the top left. It has a little weird shape here at the bottom of the flower, so I'm going to kind of hide that either underneath or by a stamped image. I also have a single leaf that I'm going to add next to it to add a second leaf to that grouping. And then I have a single flower that doesn't have dimensionals. I did put some glue dots on it, and I'm just going to tuck that somewhere. I'm going to put it up here by this one for that. And if your twine doesn't want to stay down, I do have a little tip for you. So what I will sometimes do is take a little glue dot and roll it on the tip of my Take a Pick tool. So I get a really small piece, and then I just kind of slide it off. So I have a really tiny piece of glue dot, and I will just tack it down right where I want that to go. Just like that. Nobody knows, and it's just there. It's not tacky. It's not going to get stuck on anything. It just helps so that things don't get covered up. Also, if you want to tack down your corners, you can always add another glue dot. I like to take the paper off when it's on my Take a Pick tool so that I have a little more control, and then just slide it under and tack it down to whatever needs to be stuck to. So those are just some tips. We're going to go ahead and add this to our card base of Mossy Meadow cardstock. I am going to use liquid adhesive. You could use your favorite adhesive. And just slide that right in the center. Because we distressed the edges, it doesn't matter if it's like totally even. And then if you are using liquid glue, always remember to smooth out the liquid glue so that you don't get any lumps or bumps. This little piece is really bugging me. I want it to come out and away from my greeting. So I tucked it underneath those loops there. And then the last thing I wanted to add was just something that kind of went with the outdoors, woodsy kind of feeling that this card has. And those are these adhesive backed swirl dots. And you could use the brown ones, kind of the petal pink ones, or the vanilla. And I chose the vanilla, and I just tucked a couple around the greeting and the leaves. You could, of course, use anything else. I mean, there's gold on the card, so you could use the gold sequins that even came in the kit. I just thought these were kind of had a nice touch, more neutral and natural kind of look to them. And your card is all done. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching me create this fun card today with the June Paper Pumpkin Kit. If you're interested in subscribing to get your own Paper Pumpkin Kit, please do so using the link in the description box below to subscribe. If you would like to see written instructions or close-up images on how I created this card, you can visit my blog, creativechelsey.com. Thanks so much for watching. Have a creative day. Bye.